I think the tips that I'm going to share in this video are applicable to whatever language you're trying to learn, so keep your ears open. Hi, if you're new on this channel, I'm Mehdi. I've been living in Korea for 5 years now, and I became fluent in Korean in no time, so I'm here to share my tips with you guys because that was very much requested in the comments of the previous video. You know how it is recommended to eat 5 servings of fruits and vegetables a day. It's also recommended to like, comment, and subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so that you don't miss any future videos. So a lot of people would be like, now seriously, like learning a language in 3 months is absolutely impossible. But you need to understand that I took Korean classes for a year, and that for the very first few months I was very motivated for reasons that I'm gonna explain later on in the video. Some people would argue about the notion of fluency as well, but after 3 months I was able to look for a place myself, sign contracts on my own, do due diligence, and go through, you know, the processes that I went through and that I explained in my previous video to check that my place was not a scam, make friends, and not only hold but lead conversations with very shy Korean friends who could not speak a word of English, get myself out of situations where very bad people thought that they could take advantage of a very fresh, off the plane foreigner, and turns out that they couldn't. So if you ask me, that's pretty fluent. That, and I also needed a catchy title for you to click on the video. So anyway, okay, I just woke up and I think you can tell, but ignore, you know, my morning skincare routine. Not to state the obvious, but you guys, a language is what? Spoken. That's absolutely right. So there's gonna be no improving, learning, assimilating through the art of miming. You know what I mean? And that is a wonderful segue to my first tip, everyone. Don't be afraid of doing the very thing that you're trying to achieve. And what I mean by that is that you're trying to speak Korean. So why aren't you speaking Korean? I think that applies to whatever language you might want to be learning. So many of us want to wait until we get to a certain level to start speaking without understanding that this very step of babbling in a foreign language is absolutely key to master the language. I personally attribute my Korean skills to the fact that I very much applied myself when I was learning the basics. Think of it that way. If there are 3 levels, so let's say beginner, intermediate, and advanced, right? If you wait until you're intermediate to practice beginner level Korean, you're already behind. So don't be afraid to be the level that you are and embrace the level that you are in. You're a beginner. You're messing up a lot. So be exactly that. Be a beginner that messes up a lot. I think getting rid of that fear of making mistakes has to be the first thing. A war is not gonna break out because you made a mistake. No one cares. Everyone is busy thinking of themselves. And for some people, I understand it might be difficult to understand or like assimilate or get over, and that's why you need to. Tip number 2. That's 4. Tip number 2, coerce yourself into learning Korean. You have to force yourself. You have to set goals. Put yourself in situations where you have no choice but to speak Korean, and you have your back against the wall. I have 2 stories for you. When I got my scholarship to come to Korea, by the way, these are the Dr. Althea Cica Skin Calming Pad, and you can get it in the info box. I'm gonna have links ready for you guys. But anyway, when I came to Korea on my scholarship, just thinking about it kind of makes me laugh. The last thing that I was expected to deal with was having a roommate. As I told you before, I went through a year of language school, and during that year, we had to have a roommate. Like, that was just the dorm situation. We couldn't really do otherwise. And those are basically like the rooms that were available. Now, bless my roommate. He was very sweet. We never fought about anything. Super kind, super kept to himself. I keep on counting on my fingers. I need to stop that. But one thing about me is that I don't do community living. My house, my space is very important to me. I really wanted to get out of the dorms, but turns out they were scared of, you know, us running into trouble, being scammed, and signing leases that you don't understand. They had this rule that anyone below level 3 by TOPIK standard would not be able to live off campus. So TOPIK is a Korean language test for those who don't know, and it has 6 levels, 0 being the lowest and 6 being the highest. I'm currently 6. It was late August and I knew an exam session was coming. I think it was mid or late November, if I remember. In the beginning, I was so diligent. I remember asking the Language Institute to sign me up for the exam. They were kind of dismissive. They were like, let the grown-ups, you know, sign up for the exam and don't, you know, take someone else's spot or whatever. With, at the time, my broken Korean, I figured everything out and I signed myself up for the exam, for the test. I hadn't told anyone, and when the results came out, not only was I level 3, I had actually gotten level 4. So I think level 4 is 150, and I either got 150 or 151 out of 300 points. I wanted to get out of the dorms so bad, and when you want something so bad, I'm telling you, your brain just figures it out. The second story is a little more dumb, and I think I'm low-key embarrassed to tell you guys, but if it can help even just one person, I'm gonna go ahead and say it. At the same language school, they had like clubs, you know, they call it like 동아리 in Korean. You would be paired with Korean students who could basically help you out with small stuff like paperwork and to like make friends with Korean students. Sometimes it would just be non-official gatherings where we would just go for chicken and beer, and I would just enjoy, you know, the chicken and everyone's stories because I don't drink alcohol. This guy was so annoying, the most annoying person that I've ever had to talk to in my entire life. Commenting on people's weight and appearances, like making out of pocket, you know, comments, just ruining the vibe. Oh, so he joined the club to improve his Korean. This is the only thing that I will give him props for. And the only languages that he could speak were English and whatever his first language was. I thought if we were to exchange more than 2 words, it would not go well. So I just lied to him and I told him that I could only speak French and Korean. So multiple times a month, I put myself in a situation where I couldn't utter a word of English because it would blow my cover. I was committed to the lie. And because my Korean was already better than his, we wouldn't really hang out with the same people. He would hang out with people who were more, you know, familiar with English, and I would hang out with the people who weren't as familiar with it. And I swear to God, this contributed to my Korean being what it is today. So in a way, thank you, asshole. I think another tip that I have for you guys is consume and over-consume Korean media. Coming here and falling into K-pop, dramas, and even, you know, Korean content, like Korean vlogs and stuff, really helped me. The good thing for you guys is that obviously you don't need to be in Korea to have access to that. Books are also a great way to learn the language. I remember, for me, it was Harry Potter. So I read Harry Potter more times that I can actually count. And reading it in Korean was interesting because I obviously knew the story, I knew the timeline, and I had, you know, a lot of context in mind. So just reading it and not understanding, you know, every single word that I was reading, but just having a lot of context clues, it was just enough to make sense of what I was reading. And I remember learning a lot of words like that. I learned, I want to say 80% of my English through TV shows like Desperate Housewives, Prison Break, Heroes. And doing that for Korean as well also was super helpful. Sky Castle, World of the Married, you know, there's just something about hearing a word that you don't know and immediately see its translations through subtitles. It's super helpful. And I remember also using this Chrome extension called Language Learning with Netflix. I think it's in my notes because the name has changed a little. I think it's called like Language Learning Reactor now, and it has super interesting features. Like it highlights, you know, words deemed like complicated and gives you a natural translation, so it's really cool. K-pop is interesting because the lyrics are obviously not, you know, natural. You know, no one speaks like in a K-pop song. You know, you can listen to Into the New World by Girls' Generation and no one is gonna speak like that. Like no one is gonna be like 사랑해 널 이 느낌 이대로 그려왔던 헤매임의 끝. You know, like no one's gonna speak like that. It's super cringe and it's like, it fits in a song, but it's not like something that you would say. It's great for metaphors and it's something that you can keep up with because it's not, it doesn't feel like homework. You know what I mean? If you enjoy K-pop, you just can listen to it 24/7. It can be good practice. It can be something that you can just do for fun. I think marrying the two is something that is just very helpful overall, you know, fun and actually doing the work. Vlogs are my favorite underrated way to learn because these would just be people like you and I, you know, talking to the camera in a very natural way like I'm doing right now. Or even better, like if it's vlogs, sometimes it's actual, you know, friends holding a conversation that you can eavesdrop on. You know, if you can eavesdrop on two native speakers just having a very casual conversation, like that would be the best practice in my books. In vlogs, but if you watch a vlog and they're filming themselves in the morning, chances are they're gonna speak about the future, what they're gonna do during the day. As they're doing it, they're going to be describing what they're doing. As they're going to bed, they're probably going to use past tense to like go back on their day and like tell you about it. It covers a lot of things and it can be about your favorite things. It can be about, I don't know, you can watch content about cooking, you can watch content about fashion, beauty. A lot of people mention apps and, you know, language exchange like websites. I'm sure there are some helpful ones. Like I remember in the past having collaborated with several apps that I think are actually amazing, but I personally wish I would have used them, but didn't. So I think it's kind of like weird for me to give you tips on something that hasn't contributed to my Korean learning experience. I could absolutely recommend it to you now. I would need to like actually dive into it and like test a few of them to like come back to you and tell you, oh, this is what I recommend and this is what I don't recommend. I thought some websites were just like really weird because a lot of creeps would mistake it for dating apps and just take that occasion to creep on foreign women. The only apps that I would absolutely tell you to download at the moment 100% are Papago and Naver Dictionary. Honestly, it's gonna sound very basic, but practice is key, you guys. My French, for example, is super wonky despite it being my first language and having spoken it for more than 20 years, like having just lived in Paris, just because I don't speak it as much. So make sure to try and make occasions for you to speak foreign languages, to speak Korean. I think it applies to whatever language you're trying to learn or whatever you're learning on a daily basis, to be honest. If I can do it, you can do it. I'm not some kind of genius. Learning a language is just about consistency. I think there are definitely people that are more prone to having like an accurate pronunciation or just like that have a better ear. But you know, having an accent is not anything to be ashamed of. Like, even though my Korean pronunciation is pretty good, like, people can tell that I'm a foreigner and I'm not ashamed of that. And this has never been like a limit for me in any way. Just keep up with it. You're gonna do amazing. If you think there are some aspects that I haven't tackled, a different aspect of my, you know, Korean daily life, I guess, you know, you can always leave comments down below. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye!